Hi there, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is Melissa Greenhill here. I'm a marketing specialist at Encore Business Solutions. So today we've got Kathleen and Mahesh from Gorilla Expense to do a demo and talk about their solution. So hi there, Kathleen.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I welcome everyone that is here today to our demo. And I'm very excited to get started and talk about Gorilla Expense. So I just wanted to give a context of what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk a little bit about who we are, give a context of who Gorilla Expense is, talk about who actually needs expense management. We'll take a look at the solution, and Mahesh will take over from me at that point, and he'll be doing an application demo looking at both our mobile and web applications, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end of the session. So let's talk a little bit about who Gorilla Expense is. We have a long and great history of being in the T&E expense reporting space. We've been in it for the last 9, going on 10 years. Our team had this. We're working in corporate America, and we're using expense management solutions and really saw that there was a need for a solution that had all the latest technology and a new platform, and so we decided to come to market with Gorilla Expense. Our mission is to become the de facto spend management solution that provides panoramic visibility, and that's a big mouthful, and I'll explain it a little bit more as we go further. But what we know is that spend management is one of the bigger challenges facing companies today, and it's something that we acknowledge and support and put into all of our solution set. We've been recognized in the industry. We're very proud of the industry recognition that we've gotten. We were recognized by Microsoft. We've been recognized by the Wireless Forum as a top innovator, and most recently as CIO Review to one of the 10 most promising Microsoft Dynamics solution providers in 2019. We have thousands of users around the world, and we are very proud of the progress that we've made working with our customers. And speaking of customers, this is just a small list of the customers that we have. You can see we cross all types of industries, and we cross all kinds of geographies. And that's an important thing for us to say, because, you know, the thing about expense management is every company, I don't care if it's an automotive company or an insurance company or a law firm or an accounting firm, every company needs an expense management solution as long as they have travelers on the road. So that's a little bit about who it is that we are, and I'd like to take a look at the what expense management's about and who needs it. That's really the question. Who needs expense management? And it's kind of you know, to us, it's a very interesting question because that's what we do and think about day and night. And the first stakeholder in the company, there are 3, is finance. And finance, there was this great study that was done by a company called Paystream, and they found that when they went out and queried to these companies, what is it that they needed and wanted, and they wanted improved visibility over spend, and they wanted to be able to reimburse employees in a more timely fashion. So this is the buying need, the pain that finance is wanting to solve when they look at the solution set. Sales and management has a different set of challenges. Historically, about 60% of companies still are doing their expenses using what we call the Excel and Scotch tape solution. The challenge for the sales team is that there's no automation, it's manual reviews, there are processing errors, reimbursement is slow, partial reimbursements either get made or don't get made. So it's all of these manual processes that makes the sales team and the management a little bit crazy about what's going on with their expense reporting, and the employees get very emotional about it because it just in, like, for instance, my own personal experience when I was doing expense reports, it took a good afternoon for me to get my expense reports done because I had to Xerox, I had to Scotch tape, I had to get it all on a piece of paper, I had to fax it in, and then I had to let my boss know, and it was just well, it wasn't faxing, it was an attachment. Faxing is a long time ago. So this is the challenge that the sales team and the management team are facing. Accounting has a separate set of issues. They want to have error-free expense processing and reimbursement and management reports, and they don't want to see paper, they don't want to see manual data entry, they don't want to see errors. They have a sophisticated ERP systems, and this is another set of paper trails that can be very easily brought into the accounting system, and we're going to show you that today. The other piece that they see is that they have compliance rules, they have audit rules, and they have analytics and reporting. And to the extent that's on paper, it's a nightmare. And we actually had a company come to us for that very reason, because they had been audited and they'd gone through that nightmare of having to gather data. So it's one of the main reasons that the accounting team wants to see a solution in expense management. So let's talk a little bit about the solution overview. And what we're going to look at today is a typical solution and the key points. So, you know, we've got, like I said, thousands of users around the world, and we're very knowledgeable about the pain points that they're experiencing. And it's kind of a compendium of what I said already: manual processes, managing the expense reimbursements, and the automated integration with ERP. And what we've heard from our users is it has to be good on the mobile phone. It has to be easy to use and intuitive. It's got to be user friendly. It's got to go into the ERP system, and there's got to be analytics. So this is, whenever we have a customer come to us, these are all of these are part of the solution set that they want to see. So that's who it is that we are, and we're going to now segue over to our solution set. And Melissa, I'm now going to ask that you can transfer I want to welcome Mahesh Raiwad, who is head of our sales division here at Gorilla Expense, and we want you to welcome him and bring him over to start the solution. Easy for me to say. Thank you. Mahesh, it's yours. Take it away.
Great.
Melissa.
Sure. Let me share my screen. Okay.
Hey, yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So thank you, Kathleen and Melissa, for the introduction part. Yeah, I'll take it ahead from here with starting with solution overview. So this is how our solution looks like on a piece of paper. This is the spider diagram of the solution. So within the dotted box is the Gorilla Expense solution. You can submit your expenses through web. We support multiple web browsers. You can do expenses both on Android as well as iOS. We can also pull in corporate credit card data into the application. We work with Amex, MasterCard, and Visa. And finally, we also have an email feature. So if you have an email in your inbox, which is the receipt, for example, certain merchants like Expedia or hotels.com, or maybe Delta Airlines, that sends you an email once you do the booking with them. So ideally, if you're not on a solution, you'll print that email and attach that paper to an expense report. But in our case, we just have to forward that email to a specific email address into Gorilla Expense environment, that is receipts@gorillaexpense.com, and the application will create that transaction for you. So application will convert the body of the email into PDF and keep it in the email section of the application for users to attach that PDF as a receipt, and they can submit all the transactions there and there itself. Well, these email and corporate credit card both are available on the mobile application. So using the Gorilla Expense mobile app, you can submit the entire expense report from the phone without having to get in front of the computer. Well, users can also submit their expenses from the web. It's user preference. And within the web application, all the alerts are electronic. So what happens once users submit the expense report, it goes to the manager, and at the same time, manager will receive an email saying, hey, the employee has submitted an expense. So he will just go ahead whether he approves or rejects the expense. The similar kind of information will be sent back to employee about the approval or rejection of the expense reports. Then we also have approvals workflow that you can set up. So you can set up multiple levels of approvals for specific expense reports, maybe manager 1, manager 2, by the time it reaches the accounting team. That's the approvals workflow. There is also policy module which you can set receipts and amount based policies for different expense types that can also be configured in the system. Then you can also route an expense report to someone else, to a different manager altogether. So for an example, the sales manager thinks that this is not supposed to be approved by him or her, then he or she can just redirect it to someone else. So that's the routing feature. There is also reporting and analytics module to slice and dice data with, where you can go and query in all the expense reports, all the expense data, and you can download PDFs with all the expense reports data with all the receipts available there and there itself. Well, we can also integrate with third-party systems like payroll. And once all the expense data is compiled, assembled, and approved at multiple levels, then using the Gorilla Expense proprietary integration application, we can post all of that data into ERP. So in this case, Business Central 365. We also integrate with Navision and Great Plains. So that's typically how our solution looks like. So let's break this demo into multiple sections now that we have an overview of how it all comes together. So we'll start with a mobile demo. We'll get an expense report ready. We will submit it from the mobile application. We're gonna approve it on the web application. And once it gets approved, we will integrate that data into Business Central 365. So just give me a second. Let me pull my iPhone screen up. So in the mobile application, we're going to look into out-of-pocket expenses. We'll also see corporate credit card expenses to get into a report. And this is how our application looks on iPhone. Once you sign into the application, this is the page you get into. And the first one that you see on the screen is reports. So reports is where you create report. Expenses is where you create all single line item expenses. Then there is receipt box. So receipt box is a great way to store and manage your receipts in Gorilla Expense. So this feature allows you to keep all your receipts in one place and you can sync them across all the devices. So it's just like having a Dropbox application within the Gorilla Expense. And this is where you can store all your receipts before attaching it to an expense line. So what happens once you have a receipt in front of you, you take a picture of it and it gets stored in your photo gallery or a camera roll. Sometimes your photo gallery becomes clutter because you have your other personal photos going in there as well. So, it becomes very difficult for the user to go back and forth and find that particular receipt in the photo gallery. Instead of that, you can have all your receipts in the receipt box. So user can find them easily. Also, if you notice, the thumbnails in the receipt box are quite big enough. So just by looking at the receipt, user can make out who the vendor is, what the date is, and what the amount is. Also in the receipt box, we provide receipt scan, which is the add-on service that we provide, which utilizes OCR, which is optical character recognition. So if you have a receipt in front of you, you take a picture of it, application will scan the receipt, and it will extract as much data as possible from the receipt, and it will complete that transaction for the user. So I'm going to show you in a moment how the OCR feature works once we start creating few expenses. But that's the brief about functionality of the receipt box. Our customers love this feature. Next up is timesheets. Well, that's another product of ours. So if you don't have it, you don't see it here. We will disable that for you. Next up is approvals. So approvals is a section for managers. If they want to approve or reject expense reports on the go, then they can do so by clicking on approval sections. And finally, we have settings where users can set preferences. So let's start creating few expenses. And for that, I'm going to click on expenses tab. And when I do that, this is the screen I get into. Right at the bottom, you see there are three tiny icons. First one is mobile, second one is bank, and third one is email. So mobile tab where I'll do all my out-of-pocket expenses, where any payment or any expenses that has been done using cash or personal card, which is not a corporate card, then it has to be created here. For example, if you're having a cup of coffee at Starbucks and making a payment through cash or personal card, then you'll create those transactions here. Moving on to bank, so bank has all my corporate credit card expenses. This is the section where all the credit card data will show up. As you can see, I have few Amex demo data with me today, but this is how the credit card transactions looks like. Moving on to email. So email has any pending email expenses. So there was an email in my inbox, which was a hotel reservation made at Marriott. Being a registered user into Gorilla Expense, I just forwarded that email into Gorilla Expense, and the application has converted the body of the email into PDF. So we can quickly take a look at it. So this was the hotel reservation made at Marriott from October 14th to October 19th, and the amount is $1,045. So now I can attach this PDF as a receipt to a particular transaction, or I can create a transaction out of this as well, just by filling out few details on the transaction page. So either way I can do it. So we'll come back to this later. So let's go back on the home page and let's start creating few expenses. I'll create first expense using OCR, which is in the receipt box. So right on the top, you see options. So I'm going to click on it, and then it gives me option to add receipt, and then further options like camera, photo gallery. So I'm going to click camera, and I have a receipt in front of me. So just give me a second. Okay, so I clicked on the receipt, and I'll say use photo. So it's getting scanned now. So it takes few seconds to scan, sometimes a minute, depending upon the speed of the internet and the quality of the receipt. But the way it works is I can take a picture of a receipt that is there in front of me. I'll upload this receipt, and application will scan the receipt. It will extract as much data as possible from the receipt, and it will complete that transaction for me. It might not be entirely complete. I might have to pick the expense type or make any fixes if needed, but the most part it will show as task complete. So let me pull the same receipt which I scanned just before the webinar, and let's check the status of it. At the bottom, if you notice, it is saying scan successful, and it has picked up all the information from the receipt like date, amount, as well as vendor. All I have to do is that click on options, which is right on the top, and then it asks me, would you like to attach it to new expense or existing expense? So I'm gonna say, let's attach it to new expense. This is the transaction page, and as you can see, it has picked up all the information, and we also have receipt which is attached. So it has picked up the date, it has picked up the amount as well as the vendor. I just have to pick the expense type here. So this was the meals expense. So I'm gonna say expense type is meals. A couple of cost categories which are enabled at the user profile, like department and customer. So I'm from the sales department, so it has picked up sales, but this is completely configurable as per your requirement, and so is the customer. If you come down, so country, state, and cities, all of this field, you can make it as default as well. So user don't have to pick it up every time they create transactions. And at the bottom, if you notice, we have comments and other comment section where, if you want to have any description or notes, you have fields to do that as well. So transaction looks good to me. You're good to save. So there's a button that says save right on the top right hand side. So let's save it. When I do that, it asks me, would you like to save it on the web as well? So I'm going to say yes, as it syncs both way. And this expense has been uploaded. So if you come back on the home page, and if you now click on expenses, since this was out of pocket expense, you're going to see that showing up under the mobile section right here, meals. So let's create one more expense, and this time we will not use OCR, we just create it manually. But for that, there's a button that says options, which is on the right top hand side, and then create expense. And then I just have to fill in few information. So just for example, I'm doing all the expenses from October month, and then let's click on expense type. So this time I'm going to pick a different expense type. So let's pick up mileage. And when I do that, if you notice, the page has changed to show me the number of miles field as well as the rate per mile has been populated in there, which is 0.58 as per IRS. So let me click on this field, enter miles, and either I can enter distance traveled manually or I can take the help of Google Maps to do the math for me. And for that, I'm going to click on calculate miles, and then I just have to choose the origin point as well as destination. So I'm going to pick Duluth to Atlanta, destination, click on done, and then it has given me the approximate miles. I can also add the additional destination by clicking on the plus button right here, as as it supports multi-destination as well. Let's keep it simple, Duluth to Atlanta, click on done, click on save, and if you notice, it has given me the converted amount. At the bottom in the comment section, if you notice, it has picked up the start and end addresses as for reference purposes. And we also have receipt, which is attached. If you click on the receipt, and the receipt in this case will be just a snapshot of the map. So let's save this one as well and upload it. Well, so we have created two different expenses so far, meals and mileage. So let's jump into the bank tab. So bank has all my corporate credit card transactions. So we need to remember that, of course, we will be having very limited information and there will not be any receipt attached to it. So let's refer any one of these and complete that transaction. So on this transaction level, on this transaction page, the fields like date, the amount, the merchant name, the payment method, which is Amex in this case, and the country, state, and city. So all of this has come from the corporate credit card statement. So these fields will be grayed out on the user profile. They won't be able to do any changes to these fields. So fields like, of course, department and customer, they can choose it or you can make it as default as well. Apart from that, our application will map specific columns from the statement to the respective fields within the application. So if there is any additional data supplied by the credit card company or the credit card statement in the comments field, as you can see, it has mentioned parking fees. So based on this data, the application can be configured to read that and it will pre-select the most relevant expense type for the user. As you can see, it has picked up fees, but user can still go ahead and change the expense type if he wants to or if there needs to be. But the most part it will show as task complete. Since this is corporate credit cards transaction, there is no receipt attached to it, and that's where you're seeing there's a camera icon on the top left hand side. But if you want to attach a receipt to this transaction, you can do that. I mean, you have multiple options as well. You just have to click on camera icon, and then you have these many options through which you can attach a receipt. You can use camera, photo gallery, receipt box, Dropbox, OneDrive. We have tab with both, merge from mobile as well as merge from email option as well. So if you click on merge from email, it will take you to the email section of the application, and now you can click on this PDF and it will get attached to this particular transaction. So I'm not going to attach any receipt for this particular transaction. I just want to show you what happens if a transaction don't have a receipt. Is it going to give us a red flag? That's what we will see. So let's save it as it is. And well, so this particular expense has been uploaded as well. And the transaction is also complete. So we have created 4 different expenses so far. Sorry, we have created 3 different expenses so far, and we have uploaded them as well. Now we are going to add them to an report. But the process of upload, in the way we saw, it always encourages travelers to complete their expenses as and when they incur and not to wait till the end. So if you're walking out of Starbucks with a receipt that you paid out of pocket, you can just quickly take a picture of it, code the expense type, and you can upload it then and there itself. So you don't have to stuck that receipt in your pocket or lose it somewhere or forget it somewhere, It can just be done immediately. So I'm back on the home page now of the application, and now I'm going to click on reports. So let's create a report and get all these transactions into a report. For that, there's a create report button in the middle. and then I just have to fill in few information. I just have to give a name to this report. So I'm going to say October 2019 expenses, and then I have to pick the report type. So I'm going to pick corporate, but if you're billing back to a project or customer, you have option to choose as well. And then I have to pick the start date and end date. So let me pick start date as October 1st, 2019, and end date as October 31st. So let's click on options, save it. Well, the first one that we just created, let's open that up. So we have created a skeleton report to which now we will add all the existing transactions which we just uploaded. And for that, there is add existing expenses button at the bottom right hand side. So let's click on it. And then by default, it takes you to the mobile section first. So from where I'll pick meals, mileage, then I'll jump into the bank. I'll pick fees. And then there's a button that says add right on the top. So let's add it. And now you can see all these three expenses are showing up here, and it shows the date, the source of the expense, the type of an expense, and the amount. And at the bottom, it will give you a breakdown, what the total was, what is not reimbursable as it will pay to the corporate credit card, and what is reimbursable back to the employee, which is total reimbursable. So there's a button that says validate to submit at the bottom left-hand side. You must click on it to make sure that all expenses are valid. And then only it presents you with a submit button. So let's go ahead and submit this particular report. And now, as you can see, this particular expense report has been submitted to my manager now. So my manager name is Sam. So Sam will receive an email saying, hey, Mahesh has submitted an expense report for so-and-so trip and so-and-so date. And the report number is GE2866. So every report that gets submitted carries along with a unique report confirmation number. And the email that manager receives, it will also going to have an URL in it for him to click on it and take action. But from traveler standpoint, his work is done. So in a few clicks, we have submitted the entire expense report from the phone without having to get in front of a computer. So another point with the mobile application is that it also operates in offline mode. So if you're sitting on a plane and you got 5 receipts in front of you and you don't have Wi-Fi or any connectivity as such, you can still open up the application, take pictures of the receipts, and you can complete those expenses manually and you can keep them ready to be uploaded. So it's very simple, very quick to operate, and you can complete expenses even in offline mode where you can just code the expenses, take pictures of the receipts. So that's another option as well. Okay, so let's move to the next section where we are going to approve this expense report as Sam, who's the approving manager, and that we are going to do from the web application so that we can also take a look at it how our web application looks like. Okay, so this is how our application looks on web. This is the sign-in page, and I'm going to log into this page as Sam, who's the approving manager. So now the purpose here is to see how it looks like in front of the manager's dashboard. So this is the dashboard. So this is how it typically looks like when an employee or manager logs in. So it says, hello, Sam. And Sam will be presented with the dashboard where expense report sections broken into two subsections. One where Sam is working on, but there is none right now. And then below expense reports section, expense reports submitted to Sam for approval by his employees. So in this case, 2866, which we just submitted. So let's click on it and review that. So right on the top, you see there's the approvals workflow. So it says submitted to manager Sam Robinson, but not approved yet. And just below that, there's a heads up to manager saying that this report has potential duplicates. So What that means is our application will flag uh, potential duplicates as if the same receipt is attached multiple times. If the same receipt is attached multiple times, then application will flag it as potential duplicate. So then manager can take necessary action if you want to send it back to your employee asking, about attaching a receipt and resubmit it. If you come down, there are a couple of tabs, approve and reject. So manager can approve an expense report, he can reject as well. Towards the right hand side, there's a redirect expense report feature. So if I click on this, if I think I can also redirect an expense report to other managers in the system. If I think this is supposed to be approved by someone else and click on redirect. Then we also have PDF preview feature. So PDF preview, it actually generates a very handy PDF document which has a summary table followed by subsequent pages that have receipts with them. So every page will have a single receipt of that respective line item, along with the expense type and date mentioned on it. Our customers like this feature because it also serves as a very convenient backup option for them. So very handy PDF document. And then we also have audit trail, so it just gives the user a running summary, what's been going on, what's been happening with these expense reports, along with the date and timestamp. So it typically captures all the changes made to an expense report. And it shows when I submitted the expense report, date and timestamp, when my manager approved it, when the accounting approved it. This is from the compliance point of view, and this is audit centric. And you can also download it as Excel, PDF, as well as Word document. If you scroll down at the bottom, these are the transactions, these are expenses. The first column talks about violation. Uh, as you can see, there's a potential duplicate. So if you click on this flag, it will give you all the previous instances when it says the same receipt was attached to number of reports. So you can basically open each report and compare with your current receipt and make sure that, okay, both receipts are just the same or not. And then you can take further actions. Third column talks about receipts. So if you click on the receipt link, it will show you the receipt along with all the information of that particular transaction showing towards the left hand side. And then uh, there's a right arrow. So if you click on this arrow, you can see the next receipts as well. Second transaction, remember that was a bank transaction. We didn't attach any receipt, and that's where it shows there is no receipt attached. So now manager knows there are a few editing that he needs to do before approving this expense report. And he can do all of those editing on clicking on edit report feature. So if you click on edit report, as a manager, you get an additional access to additional action items. As you can see, there's a remove button, so you can remove particular transaction if you want to. Then there's an edit button. You can also edit these transactions if you want to change expense type, change the date, change the amount, or reduce the amount. All of that you can do by clicking on edit button. Then we also have copy feature. So if the same expense is getting repeated again and again, then with a click of a button, you can copy and repeat the transaction. Then we also have split feature. Imagine the situation where marketing and sales team have come up together and given a client mail, and you wanted this expense to be distributed between marketing and sales team. Then using the split feature, you can split the expenses between two departments itself. So all of these editing options you have available in the edit report functionality. So let's not do any editing and let's approve this expense report as it is. So I'm going to click on approve button. Well, so this report has got approved, and right here, this approvals workflow has turned all green, all levels green, and it says all levels approved as well. And the status is also showing as manager approved. So now that this report is approved, will bring us to the final step of the process, which is now sending this report to Business Central using the Gorilla Expense proprietary integration application, which is hosted on a remote desktop. So let me just go in there and open the Gorilla Expense integration application. So this is the Gorilla Expense integration application, and I'm going to log into this application as admin. And admin will typically be accounting, finance, or AP. So this application is not accessible to employee or departmental manager. This is completely an accounting and AP function. And once I log into this application, all I have to do is that click on File, click on Export Expenses, and it is going to give me all the expense reports, and all of those are going to be manager approved reports. I'll scroll down all the way to the bottom and click on the one that we just approved, 2866, and change the status to AP approved, and click on the button that says Send to NAV or Business Central and update the status. So process-wise, at the end of the week, end of the 2 week, or end of the month, as a AP manager, you can come to this page, you can select all of these reports, and with a click of a button, you can send everything to Business Central. So you don't have to manually key anything into Business Central, NAV, or GP for that, or any ERP. So it just eliminates a lot of time you spend keying in the data into your ERP. Another option we provide with the integration application is that we also have the auto export or auto send, where we can schedule the integration application to automatically push all manager approved reports into ERP or Business Central at a scheduled time and a day. So if you think Friday at 4 p.m. you want to push all manager approved reports into Business Central, then you don't have to come in here and push this button. So that's an additional option as well. So now, as you can see, this has turned green. That means we have successfully posted it into ERP, to Business Central. So let's open Business Central and make sure that we have posted it correctly. So this is the Business Central web client, and I'm in the purchasing voice module. So let me refresh this page. And let me scroll down all the way to the bottom, and last two lines, if you notice, it has created two separate invoices, one for the employee and one for the corporate credit card, which is for Amex. So GE2866-0, it is for the Amex. Vendor ID is different, 20,000. And 2866-1, that's for the employee, and the vendor ID is different here. So I can click on it, click on view to see the distribution. And as you can see, all the lines we created posted to the desired account. So that's for the employee, and let's click on the corporate credit card one. Oh, just give me a second. And this is for the Amex. Remember the fees transaction? As you can, it can show you all the lines here. So it has automatically picked my vendor number, and for the corporate credit card expense, it has picked the different vendor number. So the next step within Business Central would be to post this batch, and it will create the payment line to pay the respective vendors, and it will post as expenses in the general ledger. So that's the integration part. So we have successfully created two different purchase invoices, one for the corporate credit card and one for the employee. And if you come back to the integration application, you're still seeing this particular report here, but there's a button at the bottom of the page that says reload. If you reload this page, this particular expense report now have been disappeared from this list because we have sent this through successfully. And if you come back to the web application, the status of this particular report is still showing as manager approved. But if you refresh this page, now the status will change and it will show me as AP approved. So that's the integration part. So let me quickly show you a couple of features on the web. So if I click on settings, and then at the bottom in the settings, as you can see, we have impersonate user feature as well. So right now I'm logged in as Sam, and there's an impersonation feature which is available in our applications. With a click of a button, I can impersonate CV here. So you can impersonate anyone that that you have been given access to. So if I click on impersonate, with a click of a button, I can become CV, or I can have an access to someone else's dashboard altogether. So right now I'm logged in as CV, and now I can take care of all CV's expense reports or reports which are pending for approval, and I can take care of those. And with a click of a button, which is revert identity, I can become Sam again. So it says, hello, Sam. So this is helpful for CFOs and CEOs who have got personal assistants to take care on behalf of them. And then, as I was saying, we also have analytics and reporting module. So if you click on analytics, under the analytics section, we have reports module. So we provide canned list of reports within the application. So we provide around 45 to 50 canned list of reports within the application. So under the standard reports, as you can see, we have report by country, report by employee and AP approved status, report by expense type, report by vendor, report by payment method. Besides that, companies who has corporate credit cards, we provide unsubmitted bank transactions report, which makes it very easy to reconcile corporate credit card statement. So this report would tell AP manager what pending or missing corporate credit card transactions are. So instead of having to sit through 70 or 100-page credit card statements and the missing transactions, this report would tell you what the missing transactions are, who they belong to, and which date they came in, and what the amount was. Apart from that, as you can see, we have aggregate spend reporting, reports with cost allocation, expense policy violation reports, customer project related reports, as well as business unit and department related reports. So just to summarize and conclude our presentation or webinar, we reviewed the key pain points with the manual T&E process. We managed to create, capture, approve expenses electronically. We provide flexibility, convenience to all the people that are part of the T&E process. We have sent all that data to Business Central with a click of a button. And as I said, this includes travelers, approving managers, as well as accounting, AP, or finance departments as well. So with that, I think I'm pretty much done, completed, showing all the features from mobile to web, as well as including integration to Business Central ERP. So,
Okay, thanks very
yeah,
much, Mahesh. Just having a look here, I don't see any questions coming through. So with that, it sounds like we can probably give everyone a little bit of time back.
sure.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Kathleen.
All right, bye-bye.